Okay, hi there. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Darren. I'm a solutions architect at AWS, and I'm your host for today's episode of AWS GameTime. AWS GameTime is where we get to speak to your favorite creators of your favorite games, and we get to learn about the game development process that happens behind the scenes. Today, I'm joined by Teninke and Ngoumagbee from Blind Ben Studios. They're our first female founders, and they're a game studio based out in France. And they're here to talk to us today about Blind Frontiers. Please, Teninke and Ngoumagbee, please introduce yourselves.
Yes, so thanks for having us, Darren, today. So I'm Teninke Camara. I'm the CEO at Blind Ben Studio. I'm a former sound designer and motion graphic designer. I have some previous experiences in film industry, some in video games, even in robotics and finance. But yes, all this experience allow me to being equipped to handle creative direction. So basically, I create the vision, I federate a team around this, and make sure that we keep the same vision until the release of the game.
So it's my turn.
Yes.
Hello. Hello, everybody. My name is Ngoumagbee. I'm a technical artist and also the co-founder with my sister of Blind Ben Studio. I'm in charge of pipeline, optimization, and aesthetic of the game. I touch several things like modeling, texturing, animation, and programming. In my previous jobs, I worked on augmented and virtual reality projects. I was in charge of transcribing aesthetic according to the art direction. And so I studied digital arts and plastic art, which me gave two both artistic and technical skills.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and like it's so cool that you have a family studio, right? You're working with your sister.
Yes.
Yeah, that's. I'm sure you have a lot of stories behind that as well.
Yes, there's a lot to say, but this is quite positive. This is good to work with Ngoumagbee. This is a great support. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And perhaps you could maybe give us a bit of a pitch, elevator pitch on Blind Frontiers. Yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit more about the game, and we have a gameplay trailer as well that we can play afterwards.
Yes, just to be quick, and we will break down the game after that. But Blind Frontiers is basically a narrative road trip, mixing some RPG and survival gameplay elements, but light. We focus the game on narrative. And you embody a young woman with albinism, and your goal is to reach your El Dorado, or let's say your promised land, thanks to your makeshift truck. So you navigate in the post-war world with harsh living conditions, and you have to survive to find resources. But at the same time, you will be confronted to some locals because you will take eventually some stop in some cities, and you will be confronted to stigmatization. So you will have to handle all this survival stuff and stigma to reach your El Dorado. So let's see the trailer.
Yeah,
now.
that's good gameplay. Thank you. Yeah, wow. I mean, firstly, the music is amazing, so like soothing, and it's got such a unique sound to it. The art direction, I can see that you've spent a lot of time building the aesthetic, making that world really immersive. Can really see that there, and yeah, just really interested to learn a bit more about that mechanic that you talked about, shaping perceptions and using items to really affect the way the game plays. Because at the moment, like we see games like Fortnite, and even if you play other games like other RPGs, you can get
Yes.
items, but
Yes,
it's
exactly.
the same way. Yeah, maybe you could share a bit more about that.
Yes, in the game, basically this is quite a RPG light. Instead of using a shield or a sword, you will have to use more of, you will have to find and then use the right outfit to handle a conversation with people you meet on your path. But yes, I don't know if maybe we will break down the features, but it's included in the fact that we want to give an experience, quite fun experience, an adventure game, but still we have some value. We want to enhance the play. Let's say we want to, you know. I don't know how to say this in yes. Excuse me, but for the English, but we are French people,
Yeah,
so yeah, you might already heard that. But let's say we want to empower players to be better allied with this kind of theme we
yeah,
included in the game. So, but we
yeah.
will talk a little bit more about it after.
Yeah, that's really interesting, right? I think yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper into that. I think there's so much there, and there's some really adult kind of or mature themes that are being managed and handled by what can be quite, I think, an emotional game as well. But yeah, let's learn a bit more about Blind Ben first.
Yes, if we have to talk a little bit about Blind Band Studio, basically with my young sister, we founded the studio because we wanted to bring better representation in the global portfolio and more diversity in the global portfolio. So we already present ourselves. I'm the creative director. She's technical artist. So we both have the right skills to try to bring the game to a reality, our dream to reality. But yes, if we have to talk a bit more about why we created Blind Band Studio, so you might know that gaming audience is diverse, but we still have not a lot of diverse game in the global portfolio. So we want to kind of change that, but at the same way, we want to act as a role model. We want to encourage people from underrepresented background or voices to bring their authenticity, to bring their creativity in the global portfolio, because we think that this is the only way to make a better industry. This is the only way to innovate in the game industry today. So, and yes, let's say that we had difficulty. We facing some difficulty to make our own path in the industry. So for us, it's important to act as a role model and have an industry with better representation, and that, yes, an inclusive industry. At the end of the day, we create we founded the studio to create our own opportunity to make games that reflect ourselves.
Yeah, no, and I think that's really important, right? I think just from games that I've played in the past. So thinking of Life is Strange, like one of my favorite games. There's this relationship that develops about the character, and they deal with very adult themes as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's super important that there needs to be more games around this kind of topic and these themes. And actually, it's really interesting how the adventure and the RPG genre is how the storytelling is really delivered to the player around this. So
Yes,
yeah, no, awesome.
This is something that This is something that the gaming audience wants. So, as you said, for Don't Nod is already taking some big part of this gaming audience in demand. So we want to bring our authenticity in the game in the global portfolio as well. So
yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yes, maybe we can just talk a little bit about the background, our background as a studio. In this slide, what is very important is the beginning, and yes, our current progress. So we started to be incubated by Game Only. This is a French cluster in the south of France, in Lyon, and basically all began in this cluster because we had access to resources, to mentoring, and this allows us to have public grants from public grants to, yes, let's say just that, to find some partners and be able to have a first prototype, a first team around the project, to bring a first prototype, to run some play test, and then having some partner like Xbox or Epic. With Xbox, we joined the IG Xbox program in March, and we just be granted by the Epic Mega Grant. We are Epic Mega Grant recipients.
Yeah,
But yes,
it's so impressive, right? As like your first game studio, the first commercial release of your game that you're working on, and you've been recognized by so many different organizations. You've been supported through this.
Yes.
Do you have any tips for our audience, like budding game developers who also want to deliver their first game? How can they get started? How can they get started?
Yes, I have many advices, but let's start with just a few of them. Find allies, especially when you come from an underrepresented voice or an underrepresented background. You want to find allies to you want to surround yourself with people that you can trust and that you can rely on, and that can trust you to bring your game. At the end of the day, you want to bring a game into the market, so you don't want to spend too much energy on two biased people. So let's start by finding finding allies, and then find a community. So I mean by that, find a community where you have a sense of belonging, network a lot. Maybe consider integrating an incubator. So as I said, we at Ben Studio integrate get the Game Only incubator, and it brings us a lot of room to grow and to have access to resources, mentoring. And I don't think we will be able to be at our current progress if it's not if it wasn't the Game Only incubator. But at the same time, there's not so much incubator in the world. So the main things to keep it, you have to keep in mind that you have to find a great community, and this will allow you to find a mentor. This will allow you to find the right resources. So this is basically the same thing.
Okay.
And
So,
yes,
our audience should ask Blind Ben Studios for a referral to an incubator, then, right?
but no, but you at the end of the day, you just listen to yourself, how you are. Yes, just find the right community, just find the right things to start. So
okay.
But let's say that the most important thing for us, is to stay authentic. So you don't. What's the point of just creating a new table, creating your opportunity to make new games if it fits other table, if it fits other, to do what we already did in the game industry. So maybe stay authentic when you create game. Find community, find allies, but stay authentic, because at the end of the day, we want the global and the global portfolio to be to continue to grow, but to be innovative, and this will be possible only with authenticity.
Yeah, no, I think that's so true. I think particularly since you're dealing with such difficult topics or such emotional topics as well, and being able to address that and give the player an experience which is, grounded in reality, very real, but also very honest. I think players really appreciate that, rather than seeing a carbon copy of another game, another mechanic. So yeah, I think that's really great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yes, but I have many years of advices, so feel free to reach me. But we will give you some contact at the end. Yes, just to have the prototype, we will show you some footages of the current prototype, but we did the prototype with a quite complete team. And yes, the idea is to achieve the goal of having a vertical slice that we could show to publishers, investors, and to give the possibilities to some player to actually playtest the game and give the first feedback to improve the game. So we had the quite complete team for 1 year. We have the quite complete team to achieve this objective.
So are the team, I can see the team on the screen here, and our audience can as well. Are they working in an office together? Are you working hybrid? What's the Blind Ben Studio setup?
Okay, we are completely remote for the moment. This is not something that we plan to. We not necessarily plan to stay remote, but at least hybrid. But yes, for 1 year only during 2022. This was the team during 2022, and we were completely remote. So we work remotely, and yes, thanks to some AWS services, we've been able to work remotely.
Okay, awesome.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about the Blind Frontiers.
Yes.
A little more about Blind Frontiers. So as I said, you take your road, you hit the road to find your El Dorado, to find the better lands to belong. And you have to find resources to achieve that. You have to be confronted to stigmatization because you are different, you are your unique character. And yes, you will be confronted to locals that might not like to talk to stranger at some point. So you will have to deal with a lot of things, a lot of challenges before reaching your El Dorado. Okay. So if we have to talk about the core features, excuse me, Darren, maybe you want to say something.
Yeah, no, it's just just thinking about it and hearing you describe the game and the different themes as well. It feels like El Dorado, it's like another layer, right? There's another story behind it. It's not just the destination, but rather that journey. But also, what does that represent? It's not just the place, right? Physically, am I right, or am I giving too much away?
you're giving too much. But
Okay, I'll stop.
no,
I'll
but
stop.
let's say like this. In each road trip, the most important thing is never the objective. The important thing is,
Yeah.
the path to this objective. So let's say that we give the objective, a clear objective, to find this Eldorado, to unveil this Eldorado. But we will see at the end that yes, there's a lot of things about this Eldorado. There's a lot of things about the places you will you will visit. So yes, let's not say too much.
It's almost I gave a little bit too much away, but it's a metaphor about life as well, right? So
Yes,
that's
exactly,
so deep.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a metaphor of people, we place the player in, the player will embody a young woman that will be confronted to harsh living condition. She will be in survival mode, and basically this is a metaphor of people that might conceal who they are in real life society, and enter in survival mode to fit in a society and to belong in society. So yes, this is quite metaphor.
Yeah,
We can say.
yeah, and really keen to hear a bit more about how the game is played. We saw some of that in the game trailer. Maybe you can just share a little bit more with us before we go into the gameplay segment. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, you have three core features. The first one, you explore you are in two interdependent gameplay phases. So one in the city and one on the road. You drive your truck on the road. You have to choose your own path until the next city, until the Eldorado. So basically, you will have to explore and to meet. You will be able to meet memorable characters, meet locals, different customs, nuanced world. This is not basically the same city at each time you make a stop. So this is about exploring first. Then you will be able also to scavenge for resources. The idea is to have some chance to reach your Eldorado. So you may need some gasoline, you may need to upgrade your equipment. So yes, this is the basic core features for the survival elements RPG. But the most important features is the look for acceptance features. It's done through an interactive dialogue, and let's say that we try to mimic social interaction, and it's done by the fact that you have one chance to make a lasting impression in real life, one chance to make a first good impression. So we've implemented the quick time events in the dialogue system. Each time you meet a character, you will have a quick time event where you have to choose the right manner, the right way to say hello, etc., and it will drive the whole conversation with these characters. But at the same time, you will be able to change your outfit to use social interaction to be able to get the best outcome possible from this character. So you look for acceptance. You look to you change who you are. You use, for example, in one city that don't like your hair, you can hide your hair with some scarf. But at the same time, we want the player to reflect on real life society, in the fact that each time you will try to fit in someone else's expectation, your character would suffer from mental health. So you have a gauge which will rise each time you will try to fit in someone else's expectation. We really want to empower people to be better allies in real life society. At the same time, we want to be fun, but we still want to include the fact that yes, people might suffer from try to fit someone else's expectation, try to fit society, and suffer from mental health. And this is basically
that's really interesting. Yeah, and I think we'll be able to see more of that in the gameplay itself. I just want to highlight some of the comments from our viewers, our audience today. So F.A. Hart says, "Yay to women-led game studios!" So that's awesome. Thanks so much for that support. We've also got Silenced Desagno. I don't know if my French is not very good.
Silence des agneaux.
There we go.
This is French, so this is where we are best.
French.
Silence des agneaux.
But it says we. But also they have a question around whether you're using Unity or Unreal. So actually, I think this takes us to our next slide that we have on the game itself.
Yes. So just to answer, we use Unreal. We work on Unreal Engine 5, and yes, just to talk a little bit more, to sum up a little bit the game. This is a story-rich, female lead RPG game, so with some RPG light elements. We want the game to be accessibility friendly, so we plan to implement multiple controller supports. This is basically because we want even people with some disabilities to be able to play the game. So yes, we want everyone to have some fun with the game, the same fun despite the disabilities or etc. As I said, the game is mature. We have some strong theme. The main character has a strong background, so we will talk a little bit more after, maybe. But she is a person with albinism, and she has I don't know if you already noticed, but she has a prosthetic arm, which, you have to know that in some part of the world, people with albinism suffer from ostracism, excuse me. And if not, we just to take the body part to make some sorcery or witchcraft. And yes, this is something we want to point in the main character. She's not just someone who took the road to enhance her living conditions. She's someone who has already trauma, and this will be point in the during all the adventures. Yeah. And yes, we plan to release it around 2025 on Xbox and PlayStation, Steam. We work on Unreal Engine. And important things, use Wise to implement your sound because this is a great tool to yes. I think for now that this is free for indie. So yes, this is a great tool for sound designer.
Yeah, so really supporting the indie community, and that's perfect. And perhaps we can now look at, just quickly look at how you're building this game on AWS before we go right into the gameplay, which is what I'm sure the whole audience wants to see, and we're super excited to share.
Okay, so like they say, we have a remote team, so we need versioning software to share and receive files, but also we need the cloud storage. For the versioning, we decided to use Perforce because it's ideal for Unreal. It handles binary files and transfer a large file very quickly. And for the cloud storage, we decided to use AWS for several reasons. So the first reason is we can dynamically change the volume size and type. It's ideal for a remote team wherever they are. Data transfer will be fast and efficient. Hosting Perforce on AWS allow us to work with AWS services. And for the last point, Teninke, can you develop the last point?
Yes, we actually been able to use AWS services because thanks to Game Only that has partnered with the AWS to add us having some, I think 2 years plan of free access to services. So as I said, being incubated will allow you to get focus on your project, and they can make those kind of agreements with some entities like AWS. So this is the main reason why we've been able to use AWS. But still, AWS save us a lot of time, save us a lot of this really allows us to work remotely and efficiently.
No, that's really good. And I'm glad that there's support for indie studios as well. I think, some of our customers can be a bit, I guess, intimidated by the costs and also how many different services there are to use. So I think working with an organization like Game Only to give you support through that, but also your, the solutions architects and the account managers. Really glad that we can get you that.
Yes. So I continue.
See Amazon Polly as well. So really excited to hear about how you're using Amazon Polly, a bit of AI.
I will introduce Unreal Swarm. We have a lot of scene to produce. So we plan to implement Unreal Swarm on AWS. It's a system for distributing and applying tasks to make expensive calculation, such as lighting or shading. We also deploy a virtual workstation, excuse me. It can be useful for remote, for collaboration, and also for rendering with Unreal Swarm, for example. And we have, in your game, we have a lot of dialogue from different characters. So for prototyping and the start of production, we will use Amazon Polly.
Yes. Maybe I can continue.
Do you want to continue?
Yes. Just to be specific on this, because Amazon Polly, previously I work on a localization studio, so I know the cost it could be to localize your game. So using something that using something like Amazon Polly, which is voice synthesizer.
Yeah, like a digital voice. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, it will allow us to work on the art direction, the dialogue art direction. So you choose to put the right emotion, the right acting before going on booking a studio, the sound engineer. Booking everyone on the same day. If you messed up this day, this is complicated to bring everyone to get together for another day, for another shoot. So it will be preferable to use voice synthesizer to use as placeholder, but also use that as art direction. So
no, that's such a creative use of the digital voice that Polly can give, right, to any text that you give it. I think it's just really clever. Like it's just the fact that in such an important in a game like you're developing now in Blind Frontiers, dialogue is so important. It sets the tone. It's how your characters interact with the game itself, and they choose the right storyline and so on. And it just makes sense, right? If you can use AI to make the job quicker, make it simpler, save you money, and then invest all of that money you've saved into once you've decided to put that into the voice acting, that's amazing.
Exactly.
And it's like generative AI is also such a trend in gaming. So maybe the next game you guys will be using generative AI as well.
Yes, we will see what's yes. There's a lot to say about this, but
I don't think Teninke agrees with me. That's fine.
Well, not completely. I think you should use AI to have the first draft of whether you want some concept art, etc. You can use AI, but I don't think for this at this moment I don't think you can replace concept artists by the complete the final product by an AI. But yes, I might be wrong.
That's
but
good. No, that's really good. I'm glad.
This from a creative director.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Great. Okay. So I think before we're going to go into the gameplay next, but just as a recap for our audience and those of you who are just joining the live stream, this is the 6th episode of AWS GameTime. Super excited to be showing off Teninke and Ngoumagbee from Blind Ben Studios. And we're going to see some gameplay from their game that's going to be released in 2025 called Blind Frontiers. And it's there's a lot to show. So really excited to share this with you today.
So let's start with the gameplay.
So I think if we can share the
the build.
Alors.
So just to say a little bit about the current prototype. Yes, the setting on Blind Frontier is it's a post-war world. Everyone has to survive, has to take the road to survive. There's not a lot of people in the earth. People live in factions. That's why people live in factions to enhance their living condition. But at the same time, they are not open to anyone. So the fact that you embody a young woman with albinism that is completely different from what people are expecting to see, make your journey more challenging. So as you know, this is yes, we have some strong theme. You will meet some character, some young character. This is a child that maybe can you stop?
Excuse me.
Just wait. But just to explain that, yes, we'll meet some memorable characters, some unexpected characters. So you have this young lady that to survive sells some stuff, and yes, you will not be completely lost in the game. You will have access to a notebook, a quest, and maybe you can continue, and your inventory, where you will be able to. Yes, this is the part where you will be able to change your outfits to access your resources, etc.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think just want to point out here, we can see there's so much detail in the game already. So we could already see the footsteps in the sand. We could see the kind of the particle effects with the sand rolling across the dunes and the shadows as well. So for a prototype, it looks really good. And I love, we can see this is Niuma, right? Our character, our hero character.
Yes, this is the main character, and yes, for the moment you can see that there is some issues in the animation. This is a prototype, despite the fact that you may see that the visual are quite advanced. This is still a prototype. The idea is to have something like deep in terms of visual element, in terms of visual environment, because at the end of the day, we want the player to feel. This is not just a game with some mechanic. This is a game with some strong atmosphere. So we want the player to feel this. And this is the reason why we started to prototype the game, but not only the mechanics, but also the visual.
It's really immersive. Yeah, yes. It's really immersive. I love it. So will we get to see the shape perceptions feature?
Yes. Maybe can you continue? So just before entering, maybe tu peux aller plus vite aussi. Just to continue talking about some features, as we said, you will be able to hack some old war systems, to access resources. In this prototype, this is just to open a door, and you will meet your first character.
Yeah.
So as we talked before, you have a first impression. You have a quick time event based on the fact that you have to choose the right way to engage with this character, and this character is quite difficult. So you will have to. This will drive this first impression. Quick time event will drive the whole conversation, and in some occasion, this will be okay. You can continue to talk with the people. In other one, this guy, for example, don't want to deal with you anymore because you have the wrong manner. You enter the building without his consent. So this is a part of where you have still the ability to have access to some outfits.
Okay. So that's what Ngoumagbee just picked up. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. So you can see for the moment in terms of UI. Yes, she changed clothes, but in terms of UI, this will be more more complex. You see that she just picked one entire outfit, but we want to have some parts, different art, different dress, etc.
Yeah, yeah. And we
So
can
yes,
see actually on the left-hand side the bar that kept going up and down. So that is the gauge. Yeah.
yes, exactly. This is a great point. When you interact with a character like
Mm.
this one, you will
Mhm.
be able to. You will be faced to some. You will face some rejection. So the gauge
Okay.
at the left is a rejection bar. So
Okay.
when the more the rejection bar is high, the more this
Ah.
character will don't want to deal with you, don't want to talk with you. So
Yeah.
at some point, if you reaches the goal is too high, this character will not will at some point don't want to talk about with you anymore. So
Ah.
you will close the you will not be able to continue to discuss with to engage with this character, and
Yeah.
it will close you the possibility to have access to resources. So
So
in this particular part, you need some resources from this guy, but
okay.
at the same time, you just don't have the right way to ask that. So you ended up with some bad resources, but still this allow you to quit to leave the
Okay.
city.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So now we see the truck. We
Yes.
saw this in the game trailer.
So the
Oh,
second
that's
part,
cool. Yeah.
you have your resources. You can continue your trip until the next major landmark. And
Mhm.
yes, you have the ability. You know, each time you take the road, the road is like in bad shape. So
Okay.
each time you take the road, even if you choose the road, you think you've choose the right path, you will end it to have to be confronted with hazard or
Okay.
bad road, etc. So when you land in the city, you will always have you will always have to repair your truck in
Okay.
some way.
So
So
your players are managing the stress gauge.
yes,
They're managing their appearance, their external outfits. They have to think about the dialogue that they're
yes,
also interacting with, and then they also need to manage the truck to get to the next
yes,
stage.
exactly. We
Yeah.
put the player in, this is not something we don't want the player to be so stressed about we really want the player to weigh the decision whether or not to conceal who they are. And the
Yeah.
decision will be made based on the fact that you have you have a truck in bad shape and you want to
Okay.
continue your trip. So at some
Yeah.
point you will have to make some strategic decision on the road and on the cities when you meet some new character, new people. Even
Yeah.
if you meet some weird or you have an opinion on some character, at some point you will have to to try
Yeah.
to manage your identity, or if you can say it like this, to being able to have access to resources. So as I
Yeah.
said, this is not a fun things to do. We really want the player to reflect each time, to have the occasion to reflect on whether or not they can be better allies. Because in real life societies, people to survive in society have uses use those techniques, and you might consider that, oh, it's not too bad, but each time you use this technique, you compromise yourself.
Mm.
Uh, you're not, you're not, you lose some authenticity, and for some people, this is yes, this
Yeah.
lends to mental health
Yeah,
issue.
understood. And I think so. Well, firstly, our audience, just so that you're aware, you can look at this game on Steam. We also have some QR codes which allow you to get in contact with the Blind Ben Studio team. You have their website on the right-hand side, and you also have their Instagram. So I understand that you've just kind of onboarded a community manager as well. So starting to really get going, get a lot of momentum. So if you're interested, please do reach out to the team and start that conversation and learn a bit more about that development that they're going through.
Yes, for the moment, you have to know that our page team is still under review, but it might take only, yes, 1 or 2 days more,
No,
and it
that's
will
great.
be ready. When the page will be ready, when they finish to review the page, this will be released, and you will be able to access the prototype. So we will open the prototype in the Steam page, so you will be able to playtest the game.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I think, this is a chance, if you like the game and you like the story behind Blind Ben Studio, you can support them from the very beginning, right? Like you can be part of that story, be part of that journey from the beginning. So share this with your friends and reach out to Teninke and Ngoumagbee for sure. Okay. So we have a comic that I see here. Maybe you can just explain a little bit more about that as well. It's a different medium.
Yes, alongside with the video game is our current focus. But we developed a comic book thanks to this was a French residency between France and Ghana. So we worked with Letty Arts from Ghana, and we'll be able to come.
Oh, wait to play the game. Yeah.
This is popping. I'm supposed to read it. So yes, we developed the comic book with Letty Arts, and yes, this is quite a sample. But the main idea is to the comic book focuses on the main character childhood. So we want to raise awareness with this comic book. We really want to raise awareness around the rare condition, the albinism, the person with albinism. And to create this comic book, we work with the local association for persons with albinism. And this is a great support for a wider audience to learn about how people with albinism this is difficult for us for them to make their path in society. And yes, you can see that in media we tend to have wrong representation of them. You may love Matrix, but Matrix, I'm sorry, has the worst representation of people with albinism, with the twin albino.
The twins, that's right. Yeah, the twin.
They're always bad or weird. We can say that in the other way, and we want to kind of reverse that by enhancing, using multiple support around the Blind Frontiers. Around Blind Frontiers. Blind Frontiers is an old brand. It's not just a video game. We really want to, to spread this good, better representation of people with albinism.
And I think that's really important, right? Like with what you've come up with Blind Frontiers, and as a studio, you've come up with original IP, original intellectual property, and now you have this opportunity to grow it into not just the game. You have the community who are kind of allies and understand what's going on and actually are learning with you by playing the game. But then they also have this comic. I love comic books as well. I think it's such a good visual medium to tell a story. And we're going to learn a bit more about Niuma and her childhood, and understand the motivations for what happened before the video game as well. And was this a difficult process for you, because you're managing quite a lot of projects? This is, I guess, the art style and the art kind of content is something that you've worked in before in your previous jobs. Maybe you could share a bit more about that process, that journey.
Yes, this was quite difficult to have this comic book. Yes, we have only 3 weeks to work on. 3 to 4 weeks, I think, but not a lot of time to work on the comic book. The idea is to have a sample, something that we could share to our community, our respective community, both with Letty Arts. But at the same time, yes, we run out of time to finish the complete story. Mm-hmm. And this was very intense. I had to write the comic, the dialogue, the character, etc. So yes, there's a lot going on. But the result is quite. We were quite we are quite pleased to see the result and to see that there's some interest in the comic book. And yes, just to say just a quick thing about that, you will have to wait a little bit for the Steam page, and this will come along with the comic book. So we plan to release together the comic book. We will post something in our social media to give you access to the comic book. You just need to follow us in social media, mainly in Instagram, and then we will give you access to this comic book. This is always ready, but this is the execution that takes some time.
Yeah.
But yes, you will have access to this. But
Yeah.
as I said, there's a lot of work on this comic book in few, and this was a short time to work on this.
There we go. So I mean, just a reminder, audience, this comic book is created in 3 to 4 weeks. They're already working on a game at the same time. There's so much talent that's behind this team already, and super excited to see the game go into playtesting and early access.
Yes, for the visual, we can thanks Kojo from Letty Art. He did a great job and he was not the only one, but I can't remember the second one. But this was mainly the art style was mainly this was made by the Letty Arts team, so they did a great job. So at the same time, I had a lot of work by creating the character, the dialogue, the story, etc., the layout. But they did a great job in a short time to color to make the ink color, make the coloration, etc. So we have a great bond on creating this comic.
Very cool. And then I think we've kind of got 10 minutes to go, so I'll just ask one final question. Let's see if our audience have any questions. Actually, let's see. So we just got a comment. Love using a comic for marketing. So much crossover and interaction between comics and gaming. Thank you, Alian Norad. Thank you so much. I think it's really cool. And I think just the final question, just to leave for our audience, how did you come up with this mechanic of using the first impression as driving the game, and how that interaction is kind of affected through the rest of the gameplay? I think
Yes.
it'd be interesting to hear a bit more about that. What inspired you?
This mainly my experience and the experience of my young sister is the primary inspiration to creating this game mechanic, because we grow in the suburb, and there's a lot going on, especially with Niuma, with the fact that she was different and she was always mistreated, etc. And at the same time, I wrote a book. I read a book that's called Stigma from Erving Goffman, and Erving Goffman break down better than I do. Better than I will do with you today, but he break down the fact that how people live with stigma, how people handle stigma, their own stigma in real life society, how they manage to they manage their own stigma, they manage for example, for black people manage their blackness in the entire day. I mean, we just can. Some people just don't feel that they can be out themselves without being stigmatized, without being suffer from ostracism, etc. So he break down a lot of experiences, and I mean he had very great example. For example, with deaf people. With people with visual impairment, with people that never knew that they had a stigma until the age of 30, and when they discover it, it's something that hurt a lot. And people who live with a stigma that they know for a long time, and manage to survive in society, to not be confronted to some hurtful experience.
Yeah.
So yes, this is all about this book, Erving Goffman, Stigma.
Yeah, Stigma. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. I think definitely a deep topic and a lot to learn from this. But thank you so much. I think maybe we just have a few more slides left. I know we've got a bit of a sneak peek with the comic on what's on the inside as well. Perhaps we can show a little bit of that off.
Yes, but there's not a lot to share.
No, I think it's great, right? We get to see the behind the scenes of making the comic, and this is the line art. And then we've also just got, I think the final slide is just really some contact details again. So just a reminder to our audience to reach out to Blind Ben Studio. Thank you, Teninke and Ngoumagbee, so much for coming today and actually sharing your journey, your story.
Darren, just maybe you want to say something to close the
of course.
discussion.
I'll try to speak because my English is very broken, but thank you for the invitation.
English.
It was very interesting to share our experience to the spectator.
Yeah.
And that's all.
No, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
yeah, I think just if for the audience who've been here today, is how best can they reach out to you? Maybe in person? Will you be joining any games conferences or being at any industry events in 2023? It'd be great to see you in person.
For the moment, there's nothing we can say official. But if you're from Paris, we will be at Vivatech. Yes, at Vivatech, we will handle a workshop just to try to, learn, just to give some insight on how to make a game in 1 hour. But of course, we will not make a game in 1 hour, but it's just a quick workshop during the Vivatech event. And apart from that, there's nothing official, so we can just we will not say a lot about our future presence in gaming event or etc. But for sure, we will share it in social media, as we have someone that can help to communicate on this.
Oh, that's great. And I think I think that wraps up today's episode. Again, thank you so much, Teninke and Ngoumagbee, for joining us today. Our audience has seen how you can come from just an idea and get supported through that journey as an indie studio to coming up with the prototype of your first commercial release game. And in this case, it's Blind Frontiers. So make sure that you check that out on the Steam page and join the socials to stay in touch with Blind Ben Studio. I think, we've learned a lot today around dealing with stigma and actually learning more about that and using the games medium for that to learn a bit more about this important kind of topic that affects everyone. Actually, it may not necessarily be about urbanism, but
yes, exactly.
It affects everyone. So I think it's really important for that message to go out. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I think just keep gaming and keep building on AWS. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, Darren, and goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Whether you're a team of 1 or 1,000, only one thing really matters: making a game that players want to play. Developers are imagining future games that delight players and require solutions to support their dreams. Players expect games to have fast response times and high-fidelity experiences on any device, anywhere in the world. To achieve this, more and more developers are turning to the cloud. AWS for Games provides a broad portfolio of industry-specific products and solutions from AWS and AWS partners to help you build faster, run smarter, and grow your games. AWS for Games portfolio covers 12 solution areas, spanning the 3 phases of game development. When building, AWS will help you to modernize your architecture and move your production pipelines to the cloud, enabling you to recruit and build diverse teams around the globe, not limited to a physical location. When running a game, AWS can help you streamline operations, deploy the right compute and accelerated networking options to deliver low-latency game experiences, provide real-time and serverless analytics to help better understand player behavior, and help you harden your back end against DDoS and other malicious attacks. To grow your player base, AWS can help you acquire and retain users with an engaging community experience with Twitch, Amazon Luna, and machine learning tools. With 175 fully featured services and more functionality than any other cloud provider, AWS infrastructure is trusted by over 90% of the largest public game companies, including Epic, EA, Ubisoft, Sony, Nintendo, Zynga, Rovio, and more. Need help getting started? Visit the AWS for Games landing page for a customized onboarding experience. Take one of our structured learning classes or dive deep into the 12 solution areas. Either way, we want to help you create the next amazing game. Welcome to AWS for Games.